Hi, I'm Weston, and I begrudgingly discuss the New York Jets, and I'm here to talk about Week 18, where the New York Jets lose 9-6 to the Miami Dolphins. I wasn't kidding when I said this was going to be the last day of school vibes, man. This was such a the game had to be played because it had to be played for the New York Jets, and they were not ashamed or unabashed about being brutally honest with the fact that they did not care about this game. That was some of the most uncaring football I've seen played in a very long time, where the Jets were just so insanely checked out, it was almost impressive. The moment I realized that I genuinely couldn't care less about what happened in this game was like Thursday when they announced Joe Flacco was going to be the starting quarterback, which I get not going with Mike White. It came out that he had like 5 broken ribs. That is insane. You cannot play a player in that condition. God, no, I'm not saying that. But not even just feigning the idea that Zach Wilson could potentially have a future here. Not even flirting with that idea. And then more or less just brutally saying, like, yeah, he's gone. The future quarterback is not in this room. It's not Zach Wilson. Was like, oh, this game doesn't matter. And it didn't matter. It didn't matter. They didn't do anything. There were 2 field goals. The offense looked terrible. Shocker, shocker. That's been the theme of the past 5 weeks. Garrett Wilson looked great. Garrett Wilson had a really nice game. Defense, my God. I mean, holding Miami, I know it was Skylar Thompson, but holding Miami to 9 points. You know, a team that was fighting for their life to try to get into the playoffs, and you hold on to 9 points. That's a fantastic effort. Caps off to the defense. Sauce had a solid game, couple of nice pass breakups. He left with an injury but came back, so that's a good thing. Oh my God, if Sauce would have been injured, and he would have been injured in this game, I would have cried. The video would have just been me sitting here with like a couple of quarts of ice cream, crying my eyes out as I spooned it in. It would have been ugly crying breakup moment if Sauce would have been horribly injured in this game and would have had to actually leave. Thankfully he wasn't, and he came back in the game. And I mean, look, when a game ends 9-6, like, what am I going to tell you that you don't? That was the ugliest football I've seen in a hot minute. And that's pretty damn hard because I talk about the New York Jethropolitans, ladies and gentlemen. I talk about this team. I'm wearing a Darnold jersey because I thought it'd be funny. You know how broken I have to be as a human to do this to myself? And they've done it. How did they do it this year? Like, I thought we were finally done breaking me or breaking the fans. I thought it was going to come with, like, some crushing playoff defeat, but the Jets said, up. No, siree, we're going to do it in the regular season by losing 6 consecutive games to end the year off. Good God almighty. The worst game in that 6-game skid, by the way, was 27 points to the Super Bowl contending Minnesota Vikings. Other than that, it was, like, 20 and 20 and 19 and 23 and, like, 26 to the Seahawks last week, I can't remember, and 9 to the Dolphins. You played playoff teams in there. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a playoff team now. Man, isn't it wild? 2 teams that went in totally polar opposite directions. The New York Jets that just woo, and the Jaguars who won 6 in a row? I don't know. They won a lot in a row. Shoutouts to Andy and Bill, dear friends of the channel, who I got to watch last night as they watched their team not fumble the bag and actually make the playoffs. How'd that feel, guys? The Jags are going to host a playoff game this coming week. Isn't that a fun thing? Isn't it cool to see your second-year quarterback develop? Isn't that a wild concept? The Dolphins clinched. They clinched in front of our freaking faces. And they broke their drought. It's only 6 years, guys. It's not a drought if it's only that short. Come to me when it's over a decade, then you can complain to us. Jets fans feel no sympathy for you whatsoever. You were 7-4. Obviously, my mood has changed a slight bit from last week, where I was just kind of sad and broken from the fact that, you know, a once incredibly promising season where everyone was like, man, 7-4, there's no way they could screw that up. Do you even know who you're talking about? It's this team. It's the team that has New York across the front of their jersey. They are experts at screwing things up, and they... Again, no exception. They did it this week, or this year. We begged for meaningful December games, and boy golly, for the first time in like 7 years, the New York Jets played meaningful games in the month of December and January, and they lost all 6 of them! Like, that is a talent, and the funniest part about all of it, the funniest part about all of this, right? You go 7-10, you go the last 3.5 games without scoring a touchdown. No one's gonna get fired. No one's gonna get anything. Every job is safe. They announced that they were safe when they started Joe Flacco. They were announcing that every job was safe. Like, no one's... Saleh is staying. Joe Douglas is staying. Ulbrich is staying. And LaFleur is staying. And honestly, I'm pretty alright with that. Right? Because I like Joe Douglas a lot. I believe in Robert Saleh. I like Ulbrich. I think his system is going to work. And LaFleur, I would like to see him with not Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco as a starting quarterback. Right? So I'm not even mad that they're all staying. But most other teams, if they were... Any other team in professional sports has a skid like that. Any other team in the NFL loses 6 in a row to cap off your season in which you were 7-4. You lose 6 straight in a tailspin. You go 3.5 games without scoring a touchdown. You clean house! But not here. Here everyone is fine. Here everyone gets to stay. Everyone gets to sing Kumbaya around the campfire and pat each other on the butt, saying, good job, we did the thing. We weren't hot garbage, which is what some people expected us to be. Oh my god. A dear friend of the channel, and in both the Jets and Rangers group chats that I'm in, asked if we felt any better about this season than we did in 2019, which is the last time the Jets won 7 games. Remember that? With Adam Gase. Adam Gase still has the most wins in a season since 2016 for the New York Jets. I mean, that should be enough for you to just delete a franchise, if I'm being honest. Anyway, he asked if we felt any better overall after this season where you win 7 in a row, or win 7 total games versus that season where you won 7 total games. And I said yes, but honestly, the way it felt, the way the cards ended up falling, not a lot. But like after 2019, right, you were still unsure with Darnold. People had a lot of hope. There was expectation that he could develop. But ultimately, the majority of people agreed that until Gase was gone, you probably weren't going to do anything, and he wasn't going to develop much. He might get incrementally better, but he wasn't going to become this, you know, all-pro caliber quarterback with Adam Gase at the helm. That was all pretty well said and done, right? You had some nice pieces around the team, but it wasn't, like, great or anything. Like, you had Quinnen Williams was there. CJ Mosley was maybe coming back, but then ended up not coming back because in 2020 he skipped the season due to COVID, but, like, he was there. You had Bell. Remember when he was a high-ticket item? Man, it's bad. Denzel Mims was brought in the next draft. So, like, you had pieces that you were hopeful could be used and developed, but it wasn't much. It was small little things here and there that it was sort of like when you go panning for gold, but modern day, you're not finding nuggets that are this big. You're finding like little flakes that are just eensy-beensy little pieces that, like, if you get enough of them, can become something of value. That was the Jets after that season. There are great pieces on the Jets team this year. Are you kidding me? I mean, you look around, you have pretty much every position filled except for like quarterback, maybe a linebacker, and maybe a safety. But overall, even if you don't get a safety, I think you can deal with it. I think you can survive that. Maybe you flip Michael Carter the second, or like a Bryce Hall to safety, and then roll with Jordan Whitehead as the one safety and him as the other. Like, your corners are the best corners in the league. That is the best duo in the league. That is the best corner in the league in Sauce Gardner. Like, you have those. That's set. The defensive line, you got to pay Quinnen Williams everything he has ever wanted. But, like, you have a great defensive line that, honestly, this season had the issue of almost being too talented because you had to do the whole rotation thing because, like, going up and down. You had Carl Lawson, Michael Clemens, John Franklin Myers. You had Quinnen. Like, you could go on and on. Rankins. Like, you had so much depth at defensive line, it was almost a problem, right? So the defense is more or less set. You don't have to worry about that. You have a lot of great things and things to be excited about there. Offensively, there are some question marks on the offensive line, but you're going to get Elijah Vera Tucker back. He was an all-pro caliber player before he got injured. You're going to get Mekhi Becton back, which, yeah, he has been it's not been a great road for Mekhi Becton to this point. But when he is playing, you cannot beat that guy. And if he can stay healthy, please, God, let him stay healthy. You have one of the best offensive linemen in the league. He is amazing, right? You have some other good offensive linemen. Max Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken, was the name. He was a solid replacement guy this season that could definitely be a piece next year. Like, if he's one of your 5-0 line, I feel confident with that. Tight ends, people are going to hate on tight ends because CJ Uzomah had a bad season because he didn't put up flashy numbers. But by God, great leader, great guy for the locker room, and just a great blocking tight end, like an old traditional style. He was fantastic. I feel good with him. I feel good with Conklin. I'd like to see Ruckert get some more action, but I feel confident with that. Receivers, again, crazy depth. If you just go with the depth guys you currently have, and you even let a guy like, he's not up for a contract yet, but if you were to cut him, a guy like Corey Davis, you'd still be fine there rolling with like Garrett Wilson, who is a bona fide star in this league already, and he's going to be a superstar next year. But him, Moore, Denzel Mims, I still have hope for, right? That's a solid 3 guys, and then any other depth is fine. Maybe you pick up one late in the draft. That's cool. Running back is the same issue as the defensive line. You might have too much depth there. You're going to have Breece Hall as RB1 next year, probably Bam Knight as RB2, Michael Carter, and then honestly Ty Johnson. The way he played the last few weeks, I'd be fine if he's like your 3rd back. I like Michael Carter a lot, but man, Johnson was solid down the little bit of the stretch. And quarterback's the big issue. Like, your big issues are you need a quarterback. Definitely need a quarterback. Let me rephrase that. You definitely need a quarterback. Might need a safety. Might need a linebacker. You have a lot of great pieces. So overall, yes, I do feel better. That was a long tangent to say that I feel better after this season than 2019. That being said, while I like the coaching staff, while I would like to see Matt LaFleur. We have Matt LaFleur or Mike LaFleur? LaFleur. While I would like to see him with, a solid quarterback, or just a quarterback that isn't named Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco, he has to be the sacrificial lamb next year by like week 5 if the offense is still mediocre, right? Like that, he's the guy to go. And if you are not a playoff team, and I mean a bona fide playoff team next year, yeah, you clean house. And I like Joe Douglas. I think he has built a solid team, and I like him. I think he's going to win a Super Bowl before his NFL career is over with. But yeah, he's got to go. Same with Saleh, same with Ulbrich, same with everybody. If you can't do it next year, if you're not a playoff team, clean house. And I don't think that's a hot take. I think the playoff mandate, if you're not putting it out there, what the hell are you doing? And I'll briefly weigh in on the quarterback thing, because I've seen a lot of things going around with that. Or do you trade a Hall to get one of the top picks and go with like a Stroud or a Young? Do you go maybe, get a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo or Derek Carr or Jared Goff or Lamar Jackson, right? One of those things. Here's my take. I'm not so much going to tell you who, but I'm going to tell you what. You cannot give the reins next season to a rookie or like a 1st or 2nd year guy trying to get his feet wet, right? Because I've also seen like a Trey Lance, that's a name that I've heard floated, or a Jordan Love. It can't be someone young who is unexperienced. You've got to go get a veteran who is experienced in this league. And that is not me being an old talking head and saying, oh, this damn team can't develop a quarterback, so you got to go get an established one who's already going to win for you. That's not what I'm saying. This fan base has become too bittered over recent time of the fact that no matter what we throw at the wall, nothing has been able to stick. You're 12 years deep into a playoff drought. Even if you get a guy like say you go get a guy like Young, right? You draft him, and you trade the Hall to get him, you draft him, and the first 2 games that he plays, he does great. And you win both of them, and he throws for like a 60-some completion percentage in those 2 games, and like 250 yards a game and multiple touchdowns. 3rd game comes and throws a pick on the first drive. It's over. The crowd is going to be booing. You know that I am correct with this. We are too impatient at this point. Again, we're 12 years into this playoff drought. Like, the fans aren't bittered without reason. We have reason to be. Are we too toxic? And are we too quick to jump the gun on a quarterback? Probably. But you can't give it to a young kid who's trying to develop and trying to understand this league when there's going to be that quick of a fuse on the fan base. You've got to, if you go get a guy like one of them in the draft, that's fine. You can do that. And then get like a Garoppolo on a 1-year deal or a Derek Carr on a 1-year deal to just more or less be the, let them mentor them. That's fine if you go that route. I'm perfectly down with that. But you can't just immediately throw that player into the fire. It's not going to work. You've got to, and you're a mediocre quarterback away. You are a Derek Carr. You are a Jimmy Garoppolo. You are a Jared Goff. You are any of those away from being a playoff team. So let them do it. Let them get the playoff game for the fan base so we can all celebrate and be, yeah, we did it. And then give it to the young guy. Those were my brief 2 cents on the whole quarterback thing going into next year. But I think that's all I have to say for the quarterback of next year and for the season. How something with so very much promise just completely fell apart and shattered to the ground like this is honestly a little bit impressive. Not in a good way, though. I'll be here for the draft stuff. I'll talk about that. Any free agent signings if the Jets go do anything. If there is a firing, which I honestly don't think there will be, I'll be here for it. I really hope this drought ends before it gets to 13. Man. But that's what I got. So if you enjoyed the video, you enjoyed the season, please consider to like and subscribe. Thank you all so very much for watching. And as always, go Jets.